Hey guys, Nick here. Today I'm going to show you how to wrap your bike lock in leather and add straps to it so you can strap it straight to your bike frame. Let's get to it.
Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is focus on the lower part of the lock. So what I'm going to do is take my scrap piece of leather and I'm going to wrap it around to find the diameter of the piece I need to cut. And then I'm going to measure the length, and that way I'll have both of my measurements to cut out the piece for the base part of the U-lock. Then once I have that cut, I can fit it around, make sure it fits well. And then what I'm going to do is press my thumb into where the hole is, where the other part of the lock goes into. And then I'll take my X-Acto knife and I'll just cut that piece out. Once I know that piece fits, I'm going to mark the edges and then mark where all of my holes need to go for stitching. I'll do that to both sides. And then once I do that, I can start punching out all the holes. Now that I have all the holes cut out, I'm going to take my rubber cement and I'm going to layer the inside of the piece and then also layer the rubber cement on the lower part of the U-lock. And I'm going to let that dry for about 5 minutes. Once it's dried, I'm going to then press the pieces onto each other, making sure that it gets good contact. And now it's time to stitch. What I'm going to do is a typical bar stitch where you make an X pattern on the bottom side of the pieces, and this leaves just a straight horizontal line across the entire stitch surface. Once I'm done stitching, I'm going to burn off the threads and put the cap back on and make sure it all fits and looks nice. Now I can take my scrap piece of leather, wrap it around the U shape of the bar, and mark it off so I can figure out where my stitch needs to be for the long piece. Once I have that measurement, now I can go over to the U-lock, put it back together, and mark it so then I can take a tape measure and figure out the length of that piece so it fits all the way around the curve. Now that I have the measurements, I can transfer them to this larger hide and cut it out so I have the long piece I need to wrap around the U. And then I'm going to set my calipers and I'm going to mark all 4 long edges of the piece. And then once I have those marked, I can take my barge and I can glue the inner edges of the piece together. Now that those are all tacked together, I can take it over to the sewing machine and stitch it all together.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I want the straps to be on the lock. So what I'm going to do is hold it in place on the back of the frame here, also to where it's touching this top bar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my Sharpie and I'm going to mark on the lock where that strap should go. And then the same for the back here. I think it'd be best if the strap was closer to the top or the middle area. I think it'll be more stable that way. So I'm just going to mark on the leather where I think that should go. And then we can cut our straps.
Now that I've marked that off, I can take my tape measure and measure the distance and then transfer that over to the piece that is going to wrap the U. And this is where I will attach the strap. That we have that strap sewn on, we can start sliding the piece onto the U-shaped part of the lock.
Oh my god, this is so awesome. So when you guys do this, make sure you give yourself a little more tolerance than I did. So it's not completely impossible.
Okay, and eventually you'll get the sleeve over the U part of the bar, and now what we'll do is transfer it over to the bike frame so that we can mark out where our snaps need to be and how long the strap needs to be. Once we've done that, we can round off the ends of the straps and then punch the holes and start installing the snaps. Once we have the top strap finished, we can focus on the base part of the straps, and what we're going to do is mark the same way we marked the top one, but instead of stitching this to the bottom part, we are just going to stitch it big enough to slide over. So once we have them, we'll slip them right over the bottom, and then we can do the same process to measure the strap distance so we can mark out where our straps need to end and where the snaps will go. And once we know that, we can start installing our snaps and trim our strap pieces. And we are done. That is how you wrap your bike lock in leather and add straps to connect it to your bike frame. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.